so we're going to talk about the reliability of the 2024 S1000RR. But what can you expect? I've had this bike for about a year and some change, and I haven't had any major issues per se with the engine. Like some people might claim, it's actually a very reliable bike, and I'm very happy with it. However, I will go into a few key things that I did run into that might be just specific to my bike, or maybe you might be dealing with them, or maybe it's something to expect if you pick up one of these. And that's going to be the front brake. So when I first got my bike, I didn't have this Brembo master cylinder on here. It was like a stock Nismo master cylinder bullshit. Anyways, my brake was going out, and the brake pressure would just stop, and I could squeeze it all the way to my fingers in the canyon. And so I was riding for like maybe a year and a half with just engine braking. Most people wouldn't say that it's a good idea, but you know, it taught me throttle control. So anyways, so I took it to BMW. They said they fixed it. I went for a ride. I lost pressure again. Okay. I brought it back. They said they fixed it. It happened again. And then it broke again. So it happened 3 times. So I did what any smart person would do. I filed a lemon law case against it. Unfortunately, I love BMW, but come on, you got to back up what you sell. So they went with the lemon. I won the case, and basically, you know, you have 2 choices. You can trade the bike in, or you can choose to get a cash and keep. I did a cash and keep because I love the bike. Some would argue I should have traded it in, but it doesn't matter. All right, and so as soon as I did the lemon, the brake failed again, and that's what made me get the new Brembo master cylinder, the Corsa Corda 19 RCS. And this Corsa Corda has been a game changer. I actually had no real brake pressure until I upgraded to this. So this might be something you need to consider on your S1K if your brakes have felt a little sketchy or not responsive, or they just didn't feel like a brake should feel on a super bike that costs 25 bands. You feel me? So either way, if you're serious about riding and performance, you're gonna want to get a Brembo master cylinder. Much better feel on the brake, bites a lot quicker, it's intuitive, and you can also adjust it for street, track, or just regular riding. And then it'll give you different pressures, and you can adjust it of when the brake bites, how heavy it bites, and how soon. So that's really nice to have, because now I can brake, right? So that's good. And aside from that, which is a huge issue, I had one other thing that happened about at 12,000 miles, and that's going to be, it was the engine coil. I was riding here to Angeles Crest, and boom, it flagged, gave me a red light, check engine now, and my engine coil went out. And so I hear that's like a common problem on these. I don't know if it's like at a specific mileage, if it's like at 10K or whatever, but basically I rode it for 10K with virtually no issues besides that front brake. And they fixed that really quick under warranty, and I got it out, and it's been fine ever since. So the engine has been great. I changed my own oil about every 3,000 miles or sooner. A cool trick is if you change your oil a lot, you can keep the same oil filter for 2 oil changes. So if you change it frequently, an oil filter is usually good for about 6,000 miles, right? So you can drain the oil at 3,000 or whatever interval you want, and you can keep fresh oil for about 6,000 miles, and you can change it however you want. However, you do want to change out the oil filter after 6,000 miles if you want to keep clean oil in your engine. Okay, aside from that, what to expect? If you ride hard, if that's your goal is to ride fast frequently, you're gonna run through tires. And I did not know this when I got a super bike, that I would be running through tires as much as I am now. And they run even quicker when you get performance tires because they're made to stick, so they're made to wear, especially as they warm up. And so I've been going through maybe about a rear tire every, I don't know, like every 2 to 3 months. It depends. But you can see I'm using all the tire here, and I'm running through tires like crazy. And so that's one thing I would plan for. If that's your goal, you're gonna need to save tires, because you're talking about an extra $1,000 every 2 to 3 months, maybe sooner. I know some dudes up here, they get 10 rides out of their rear tires and they're switching them. And then you get 2 out the front. So you're going through maybe like 3, 4 sets of tires a year, maybe more. Okay, so that's something that you need to plan for if you plan to be ripping it in the canyon or the track. Obviously, if you're at the track, you know how it goes, but it's not something that I suspected just riding on the road. But when you ride fast, a good performing tire will keep you safe, and it'll handle all the demand that you give it. So it's important that you rock the high performing tires. I personally just use the Pirelli Rosso Corsas, the Pirelli Rosso 4 Corsas, because it gives you a nice street combination. Right here is a harder compound, and it's softer and softer. So what I hear is the compound in this strip here is about equivalent to the Super Corsa. Okay, so you can save yourself a little bit of money. I don't know, maybe it's like a $20 difference between the Rosso Corsa and the Super Corsa. But my experience on the Corsa when I had those, they do feel a lot stickier at all angles. Whereas this handles just as well, but there's a very subtle difference. I can't pinpoint exactly what it is, but I feel like they're just this much stickier, which makes all the difference when you're doing like a buck 20 or 100 going into a turn. All of that matters, right? But for most people, I think a Super Corsa, the Rosso Corsa would be just fine. Okay. Aside from that, you're gonna have to have a little bit of money for the mods, right? I didn't do much. I got an Acropublic exhaust that was like maybe 1,500 to 2K, but it sounds and looks great. I mean, look at that color. Oh, I mean, it's just beautiful. Okay, and it sounds great. And then you're gonna do little shit like tinted visor. Then you're gonna delete the mirrors if you're like me. I don't like mirrors. To be honest, I rode a lot better once I stopped looking behind me. And that's a metaphor for life. Okay. And then that's about all I did aesthetically. Okay. So that's pretty much what you can plan for. I wouldn't plan on anything going extremely wrong. I think it's a solid bike. I think it's as reliable as any other bike you would get. So that's the S1K. Fast, reliable, performs. I wouldn't get anything else.